Genesis 9:11 reads, I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be cut off by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. That passage sounds to me like something I've heard quite often in counseling, where a spouse who has been a perpetrator of domestic violence against their spouse says, I promise I'll never do that again. I won't yell at you like that. I won't push you. I won't hit you. I won't put holes in the wall. Is that what's going on with God here? Is that what he's saying? My son has brought out his Beyblades to show us something. The nature of some Beyblades, they attack. The nature of some, they just take it. Watch this with me for a minute.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
Now how come the red one is zipping all over the place? How come the red one's zipping all over the place?
Because he's an attack, and that's just what he does, and he's supposed to wear down his enemy.
So what's the other one supposed to do?
He's just supposed to take in all of that and endure as much as he can without falling.
And how do you know which one, or how do you know who wins, or how you win?
Well, it's pretty simple because each Beyblade battles each other, and they go for a certain amount of time until one times out or just gets knocked out.
So in other words, they go and the last one is standing wins.
Yes, last man standing.
This is the first in our 9/11 series, going from Genesis 2:11, looking at the 9th chapter and the 11th verse of every chapter, every 9/11 passage in the Bible, literally choosing random passages of Scripture for what appear to be random times of chaos, moving up to the 10th anniversary of 9/11. Today we're looking at Genesis 9/11 and asking the question, does God pitch temper tantrums? A lot of folks think that God is like an attack Beyblade. You just saw me and my son Caleb messing with some Beyblades there, and the attack Beyblade, his job by his very nature is to kind of come after the other one and just hit him. And the stamina Beyblade's job is just to kind of take it. If you've been watching the news this week, you notice that there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world. A tornado in New England, I think in the Brooklyn area on New Year's Eve. Record cold fronts throughout the world, an earthquake in South America. And some folks would say this is God acting like an attack Beyblade, just hitting the smite button, going after us because he's fed up and we just have to take it. That's not what's happening in this Genesis 9:11 passage. Yes, there is or has been a judgment here, God's judgment on the world in the worldwide flood, but there's also mercy because God says that he cut or made a covenant with Noah. In the Hebrew it says he cut a covenant. If you look ahead to the book of Jeremiah in chapter 34, it tells us what a covenant is. It's literally when two people came together and brought together some animals and cut them in half, made two lines of those half pieces, walked between them, and said, if either one of us violates this agreement, we will become like these animals. If you look in Genesis 15, when God cuts a covenant, as in when he cut it with Abram in Genesis 15, he didn't even allow Abram to go through those lines. He went through those lines in the form of a smoking pot of fire, basically saying this, if either one of us violates my agreement with you, Abraham, I, God, will become like one of these animals. I will die. This is a foreshadowing of Jesus himself, that God sent his only Son to die in our place. The question, I think, is not why do some of these things happen? Earthquakes, tornadoes, record cold fronts, a difficult economy. If you look at Luke chapter 13, when some other difficult tragedies came, Pontius Pilate murdered several Galileans, the Tower of Siloam fell and killed 18 different people. Jesus says that the real question that we should ask ourselves, why doesn't this happen to us every day? We are no more or less guilty than the other people who may be suffering. But if we want justice, we'll have judgment every day. If we want mercy and grace, we can find that in Jesus Christ, who died in our place.